One of the seminal pieces of journalism from the first Trump administration was an essay by Adam Sober of The Atlantic titled "The Cruelty is the Point." And part of why it was so brilliant is that the title tells you more or less all you need to know, that the point of the Trump administration, its aim, its goal, its primary goal, was cruelty, was the infliction of pain on those that it viewed as inferior or undeserving or simply not welcome in the United States. That observation, that the cruelty is the point, is even more true of the second Trump administration. I don't need to go through all of the many ways that the second administration has been exceptionally cruel and depraved, but one of the ones that really stands out to me beyond the obvious is the treatment of immigration detainees in the various facilities run by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, I should say at the outset that I have no illusions whatsoever that the United States has ever been particularly humane when it comes to treating its detainees and its immigration detainees. I'm not so certain that what we're witnessing is necessarily a difference in kind, but there are differences in degree, and at a certain point, differences in degree do become akin to differences in kind. And that is what I think we're seeing with ICE detention. The neglect, disdain, and cruelty has been supercharged, such that the people responsible essentially relish in their ability to inflict pain and suffering, the vast majority of whom have no criminal records, the vast majority of whom aren't some kind of violent criminals, the vast majority of whom were, other than perhaps an immigration offense, peaceful and law-abiding, many of whom were in fact legal residents, and no small number of those were in fact citizens. Under first Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and now under the second Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin, ICE detention centers have seen an escalating number of deaths, most by neglect, but some classified as homicides. And it is not hard at all to find harrowing stories of abysmal conditions in these facilities. Conditions that make the facilities sound much more akin to what they actually are, which is concentration camps, and not to some sort of sterile and staid holding place for people awaiting deportation. At this moment, the most dramatic example of this is taking place in New Jersey at Delaney Hall, where hundreds of detainees are engaged in a hunger strike to protest the abysmal conditions there. Those detainees are being forced to work, to labor without having been convicted of a crime, a violation of the 13th Amendment. They are subject to beatings and violence and coercion to get them to sign documents that force them to leave the country. They are being denied medical care, despite the presence of many vulnerable people, including the elderly and pregnant women. And on top of everything else, they're being served spoiled, maggot-filled food. It's this latter point that has come in for derision by conservatives. Markwayne Mullin, again, the Secretary of Homeland Security, says that what do these people expect? This isn't a Holiday Inn.
But we fall within federal compliance. This isn't a Holiday Inn, Brian. We're not providing luxury housing. What we're doing is we're providing a sanitary place for them to be detained. Remember, we're detaining murderers, we're detaining rapists, pedophiles, drug dealers, gun traffickers. I mean, we have some real serious criminals there. Plus, every one of them broke the law. That's why they're there to begin with. And we're providing them 3 meals a day. We're meeting the calorie standard.
Meeting the caloric standard. Yes, that's all that is necessary. Meeting the caloric standard. Does it mean if you're serving people food that will make them sick, you're meeting the standard? That's the kind of language that you do see in regimes that maintain concentration camps designed for the elimination of people. Conservative comedians like Greg Gutfeld joke and yuck up the fact that people are suffering.
Jerry Nadler went there. And you know what he said? The food comes in small portions.
And has maggots in it.
Yeah, but it's in small portions.
I get it. You want to call him fat, but
no.
There's...
Why would you say that? He has a medical condition, Jessica. My God.
These kinds of reactions are a pointed reminder that yes, indeed, the cruelty is the point for these people. And they demonstrate that they're well aware of the kind of treatment they are inflicting on the people in these places. Now, for the past 2 weeks or so, there have been protests outside of Delaney Hall. Activists, ordinary citizens, journalists, and even a few elected officials have been demanding that ICE allow outside observers to come in and see what is happening in this facility. Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey was one of the first out there and has been quite eloquent about the situation.
I talked with a lot of people. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are frustrated, feeling like they're seeing and hearing about things happening on our soil with our taxpayer dollars that is not in line with our values as a nation. I feel it too, which is why I've gone there so many times. So I just urge everyone, please, let us try to do what we are set out to do, which is trying to make sure that there is a level of dignity and decency in this country, and that we can try to make sure that people can get the care that they need, and we can have accountability for what is happening in our name.
ICE predictably has responded with violence, attacking protesters, attacking elected officials, including Senator Kim, attacking journalists, smashing cameras, all the like. There was a moment when it seemed like New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill might leverage her office to pressure ICE into relenting. But after initially showing up to demand entry, Sherrill has effectively retreated, allowing New Jersey state troopers to effectively support ICE, inflict violence on those protesters, and attempt to limit them and not the federal agency that is engaged in the systematic deprivation of people's rights. It's a very disappointing performance from Governor Sherrill, and a reminder that politicians are very often people you must hold at arm's length, no matter how charming they seem. For what it's worth, and I think it's worth quite a bit, the hunger strikers' demands are not unreasonable. I'll read them for you. 1. An immediate in-person meeting with Governor Mickey Sherrill at Delaney Hall to directly observe conditions and hear testimony from detained individuals. 2, the immediate release of vulnerable detainees, including elderly individuals, pregnant women, young people, and those with serious medical conditions. 3, meaningful review of immigration cases and habeas filings. And 4, an end to coercive pressure to sign deportation or voluntary departure agreements. All very straightforward. Nothing unreasonable. But ICE is not going to relent, DHS is not going to relent, the Trump administration is not going to relent. Because this really is the fundamental goal here. Not protecting the border in some serious or concrete way, not making sure America is safe in any sense, but inflicting cruelty on people that they view as simply not deserving dignity, as people who don't belong here. It's why Stephen Miller, for example, is engaged in an effort to essentially harass immigrants into leaving, depriving them of services to which they are lawfully entitled. It's why the president is consistently railing against various immigrant groups, accusing them of spreading crime and disease, as if they were subhuman. One thing about our current crop of conservatives is they don't understand people as being shaped by actions. They understand people, groups, in a kind of ontological sense. What that means is that doing crime for them doesn't necessarily make you a criminal. They wouldn't describe President Trump as a criminal despite the fact that he does a lot of crime. No, being a criminal is something that you simply are, depending on your social status, on your race, your ethnicity, your nationality, whatever. It is a quality of a group, not a thing that you do, not a thing that you can become. You can see the same dynamic in the way they talk about having merit. Having merit isn't about accomplishing anything. Having merit isn't about showing that your ability to succeed. Having merit is about who you are. For, say, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, if you are black or a woman or simply not a white man, you don't have merit. And if you are a white man, then you have merit. And so Hegseth has been engaged in preventing the promotion of otherwise qualified black and women officers in favor of people like his assistant, who he hoped to promote to being a flag officer, despite the fact that he has no particular experience in a high-ranking position. Merit, again, is something that becomes inherent to who you are and not something that you do. And so we see all of this with the treatment of immigrants in these detention centers. They're not being treated like this because they've done anything. Their actions are almost irrelevant. Again, most of these people haven't broken any laws. Many of them are legal residents. But because of how they look or where they're from, they are now, in the eyes of this government, aliens. Now, in the eyes of this government, people who have no rights worth respecting. The cruelty remains the point, and the thing about regimes like this one is they never cease searching for people to subjugate. They are always looking for new enemies, and if they can't find them, they will always try to make them. Thank you, as always, for watching. Please check out this video and consider giving the page a subscribe. I'll see you next time.